a conflict that could easily metastasize.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is touring the Middle East amid heightened fears that Israel's offensive in Gaza will spark conflicts among the broader region. On Sunday, Blinken assured Arab leaders that Washington opposes the forcible displacement of Palestinians from Gaza and the occupied West Bank. The pledge came as Jordan's King Abdullah raised his country's concern during their meeting in Amman. The king warned Blinken that Washington has a major role to play in pressuring Israel into an immediate ceasefire. After speaking with Jordan officials, Blinken jetted to Qatar, where he said he had discussed efforts to free the more than 100 hostages still believed to be held by Hamas after an agreement mediated by Qatar broke down. Qatar's prime minister says the killing of a Hamas leader in Beirut by an Israeli drone strike has affected their ability to mediate between the Palestinian group and Israel. Meanwhile, in Gaza's Rafah, displaced Palestinians wait to see what Blinken's visit will achieve. We hope that Blinken looks at us with an eye of mercy, ends the war, ends the misery we are living in, this Palestinian woman says. Others at the Rafah camp aren't as hopeful.
This is a conspiratorial visit. This is an unfriendly visit. This visit comes to increase the war against us and displace us even more.
This is Blinken's fourth visit to the region since Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7th. The trip aims to gather Arab states' views on the future of Gaza before taking those positions to Israel.
Just waiting for the authorization. So what is key at the moment is to increase the number of construction trucks that we
So hopefully, with relying upon the governing authorities and some of the negotiation power, we'll be able to get them directly there without
Thank you. I want to commend the extraordinary work of the World Food Program to try to get more food to more people more effectively. They're doing this also at tremendous risk to their team on the ground in Gaza. This is an effort that's absolutely essential, and it is imperative that we maximize assistance to people in need. Not only do we get it to Gaza and into Gaza, but once it's in Gaza, that it can be effectively distributed to people who need it everywhere in Gaza. We'll be working on that in the days ahead as well. Thanks very much.
As we've said from day one, we have an intense focus on preventing this conflict from spreading. And a big part of the conversations we'll be having over the coming days with all of our allies and partners is looking at the steps that they can take, using the influence and ties that they have to do just that, to make sure that this conflict doesn't spread. Second, we'll be looking at what we can do to maximize the protection for civilians, maximize humanitarian assistance getting into them, and also to get hostages out of Gaza. There is clearly a strong desire among the majority of people in the region for a future that is one of peace, of security, of de-escalation of conflicts, of integration of countries. And that's one path, that's one future. The other future is an endless cycle of violence, a repetition of the horrific events that we've seen, and lives of insecurity and conflict for people in the region, which is what virtually no one wants.
Good evening, everyone. Too many Palestinian civilians are suffering from insufficient access to food, to water, to medicine, to other essential supplies. Children, most of all. We continue to raise with Israel the need to do everything possible
to facilitate the provision of humanitarian aid to Gaza, and I will do so again when I'm there later this week.
You will remove this from...
It's now, as you said, been 3 months since those attacks, and this is a moment of profound tension in the region. This is a conflict that could easily metastasize, causing even more insecurity and even more suffering. So from day one, among other priorities, we have been intensely focused on working to prevent the conflict from spreading. And that is indeed a major focus of what is now my 4th visit to the region since October 7th. It was at the heart of discussions yesterday with President Erdogan and Prime Minister Mitsotakis, this morning with King Abdullah in Jordan, and in the meetings that I just had with the Emir and with the Prime Minister.
The one that you were wearing yesterday to show the
I'm
secretary
making,
that you
I'm
are...
making, I know. So I've been in a boot. My podiatrist saw,
yes.
he saw an x-ray and he said, I can tell what your old job used to be. But we made progress. I checked with him this morning and now I have shoes on. Why are you embarrassing me, Your Excellency?
Are these special shoes?
They're like moon boots, sir. We can stop talking about this now.
As Israel moves to a lower intensity phase of its military operation in the north, the United Nations can also play a crucial role in evaluating what needs to be done to allow displaced Palestinians to return home. Palestinian civilians must be able to return home as soon as conditions allow. They cannot, they must not be pressed to leave Gaza. We reject the statements by some Israeli ministers and lawmakers calling for a resettlement of Palestinians outside of Gaza. These statements are irresponsible, they're inflammatory, and they only make it harder to secure a future of Palestinian-led Gaza, with Hamas no longer in control and with terrorist groups no longer able to threaten Israel's security.
It's a question for His Excellency the Prime Minister. We see so many changes in the region.
These attacks by the Houthis are hurting people around the world, most of all the poorest and most vulnerable populations, including in Yemen, including in Gaza. That's why the United States launched Operation Prosperity Guardian, together with more than 20 countries, to defend the safety and security of commercial shipping across the Red Sea. It's also why over a dozen countries have made clear that the Houthis will be held accountable for future attacks. We'll continue to defend maritime security in the region as part of our overall effort to deter and prevent further regional conflict, to ensure the free flow of commerce that is so vital to people around the world. To those still being held hostage, to their loved ones, to their families, I promise you this: the United States will continue to work relentlessly to bring you home, to get you together with your family and loved ones.
Thank you.